Tuesday, December the 9th, was an election night in America. Now, you probably weren't paying all that close attention because there weren't a lot of races on the ballot, but there were two that I want to take note of because they're part of a broader trend, which suggests to me that there is a Democratic wave building out in the ocean. Now, it's December 2025, not November 2026. But if I am a Republican elected official and I watch this video and I hear the stats I'm going to give you on the races that have happened in 2025, I am getting very nervous, unless I'm in a Trump plus 50 district, that 2026 could be a very bad election for me. All right, so let me first talk about the two races that happened on Tuesday night, and then I'm going to broaden out and tell you why I think they matter. So, one, there was a special election in the Georgia State House. A Democrat won the race 51-49. Now, why does that matter? For two reasons. One, Trump won the district in 2024 by 13 points. So we had a 15-point switch from a Trump 13-point victory to a Democratic 2-point victory. That's point one. Point two, this is Georgia, right? This is going to be a swing state in 2028. Not to mention the governor's race and the Senate race in 2026. So this isn't some random state. This is Georgia, and it matters. So that's number one. Number two race you need to have paid attention to. The city of Miami elected a Democrat named Eileen Higgins. She won as a Democrat for the first time the city has elected a Democrat in 28 years. And she didn't just win. She won by 19 points. And while the city of Miami mayor is technically a nonpartisan office, everyone knew she was the Democrat and there was a Republican in the race. Donald Trump endorsed the Republican. Democrats nationally did things for Eileen Higgins. So she wins. She becomes the first Democratic mayor of the city in 28 years. And she does so by a 19-point margin. Sidebar, if you're wondering, why is the city of Miami not had a Democratic mayor in a really long time? It's very heavily Cuban, and Cubans tend to be more Republican than other Latinos. So that explains it, at least in part. Okay, so you have this special election in the state house in Georgia where Democrats turn over a Republican-controlled seat, and you have Miami mayor. What did both of those have in common? Both of those campaigns the Democratic campaigns focused almost exclusively on affordability, housing, healthcare, groceries, those sorts of kitchen table issues, the affordability crisis. And I think that's critically important. I'm going to tell you why right after I tell you to subscribe to my channel. I am two things: independent from big media, from the two political parties, and authentic. I always will tell you what I think, whether or not you agree with me. And that's a good thing. All right, so we have these two races. Where do they fall in the broader context? Well, there's a great Substack called The Down Ballot that monitors all down ballots for state house, state senate races. And the numbers out of there are striking. So the Georgia state house turnover from Republican seat to Democratic seat was the 25th seat, 25th Republican-held state house or state senate seat that Democrats flipped to their side in 2025. So Democrats flipped 25 Republican seats to Democratic this year. You know how many Democratic seats Republicans flipped to their side this year on the state house and state senate level? That is correct. A goose egg. 25 times Democrats won a Republican-held seat. 0 times Republicans won a Democratic-held seat. Okay? There's more. Of the 60 major down ballot races that happened in 2025, Democrats on average performed 13.3% percentage points better than Kamala Harris did in that district in the 2024 presidential race. They're overperforming by 13 points on average across 60 races. 60 races. And then you have other evidence, right? I'll just give you a few examples. The big races of 2025, the Virginia governor's race. Abigail Spanberger, the Democrat, didn't just win. She won by 15 points. In New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill, the Democrat, didn't just win. She won by 14.5 points. In Virginia, Spanberger brought 13 pickups in the state House of Delegates. Democrats won 13 Republican seats. last month in Virginia. So it wasn't just the top of the ticket, it was all the way down the ticket. Tennessee, they had a special election in Tennessee's 7th district. The Republican, this was earlier this month, the Republican won. He won by 9 points in a district that Donald Trump had won by 22 points in November 2024. Remember that 13-point Democratic overperformance I mentioned? That about lines up, a 13-point Democratic overperformance. So when I look at all of these numbers, look, a Georgia state house race does not tell us everything we need to know about the political environment. The city of Miami's mayor's race doesn't tell us everything we need to know about the national political environment. But when you start looking at these numbers, again, 25 R to D pickups, 0 D to R pickups in 2025. An overperformance of 13 points on average by Democrats in 60 down ballot races in 2025. When you start looking at those numbers, and then you add it to what we know from polling and what we know from sort of what's out there, which is Donald Trump is in the low 40s in the overall job approval. His numbers on handling the economy are lower than that. They're in sort of the mid 30s in terms of approval, with a majority 55, 56, 57, sometimes 60% of people disapproving. When we look at historic midterm trends in 18 of the last 20 midterm elections, the president's party has lost ground in the House. When we look at all of that added up, I look out, I look out my window and I look out at the political ocean. And what I see is, and it's still far out, right? I get it. We're 300 days from an election, probably a little more. But what I see out there is a wave starting to bubble up. Because when you see this many signs all pointing in the exact same direction, right? If these races are like a weather vane on top of your barn, if the weather vane is pointing in this direction, if you got 5 weather vanes up there and they're all pointing in the exact same direction, that tells you something. And what this tells me is the Democratic base is extremely fired up. The Democratic base wants to send a message to Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And the Republican base is simply not all that energized. This is not new. This is why those historic midterm election trends exist. The party in power tends to get complacent. They get fat and lazy. It's how it works. The party out of power wants to get back into power. But what I think you are looking at least right now, if the election were held today, I think Democrats would overwhelmingly win the House back, and I think the Senate might be in play. Now, will that hold when we get to November 2026, which is, as I said, 11 months away? I don't know. I think the big thing to watch is, can Donald Trump turn around people's opinion about his handling of the economy? He tried to do that in Pennsylvania on Tuesday night. I would say he gave a 97-minute speech. It was largely rambling. It was all over the place. There was some good messaging in there, but it was kind of mixed in with all the other things he kind of just riffs about without looking at the teleprompter. So if things stay close to where they are, we are, I think, looking at, and I don't know if it's a small, big, or gigantic wave for Democrats, but there will be a wave. There is a national wind blowing at the back of the Democratic Party right now. And there's nothing out there that suggests to me that Republicans are in a position to fight back on it just yet. Now, we've got a ways, but the wave is building out in the ocean. And I think if you're a Republican incumbent sitting in a district that even Donald Trump won by 7 points, maybe 8 points, I'd start to get nervous. If they're not getting nervous already, now's the time. Which might lead to more Republican retirements, but I would say you need to brace yourself. You need to batten down the hatches, because you need to start putting the political sandbags out, because I think there's a real possibility, based on all these numbers I went through, that you could be looking at a very, very bad political environment come next fall. All right, that's it for me. As I said, I hope you subscribe. Independent and authentic. Those are my North Stars. I promise I will always heed to them. I also hope you like and comment on this video. That just helps me grow on YouTube, thanks to the algorithm, among people who aren't already subscribers. Last thing you can do for me, be an evangelist. Go and tell a few people about why you like this channel, why you think it's important that they hit the subscribe button. Again, content, 2 videos every weekday, as well as a live stream every Friday where I take your questions. You can also become a member of my Diamond Club. It's my membership tier where you'll get even more content, interviews I do with newsmakers and other interesting people. All right, everyone, take care.